Okay, first Star Trek Prodigy ship for the collection. Guys, let's take a look at USS Dauntless. So, for those of you unfamiliar with Star Trek Prodigy, this USS Dauntless was a sort of recreation of the original one from Star Trek Voyager, which was not a real Starfleet ship. It was meant to be a fake Starfleet ship, meant to be sort of a trap for the Voyager crew as some guys' revenge, which didn't turn out too well. But the interesting thing about that ship was that it introduced the quantum slipstream drive to the Voyager crew, which they were really hyped about as being a super fast version of faster than light travel. They were really excited that, oh, this could be our ticket home, and it didn't work out that way. But eventually in Star Trek Prodigy, they were able to recreate that technology into a certain capacity, and basically remade the ship that used the quantum slipstream drive into an actual Starfleet ship. I'm really curious about this one because, like, Star Trek Prodigy has a bit of a unique. Oh, that's weird. The box. Anyway, Star Trek Prodigy has a fairly unique art style in comparison to even like other animated Star Trek. So I'm curious how this one is going to translate into a physical model in comparison to some of the other models that we've looked at in the Fanhome collection magazine. We'll get a look at that later. Let's look at the ship. There we go. USS Dauntless. So first impression, it's pretty light, so it's not big on metal components, but at the same time, there's not a whole lot of there's not a whole lot of ship. There's basically a big well, it's not really quite a saucer shape, but you know what I mean. A big primary hull, a very small secondary hull, much like the original Dauntless, but in a bit of a different shape. If I remember correctly, this Dauntless is actually a bit bigger than the original one too. Obviously, this one is going to be bigger than the original Eagle Moss version of the Dauntless, because that Dauntless was not only based off of the Star Trek Voyager Dauntless, but at the same time, it was also in Eagle Moss's old standard size scale, which was roughly 5.5 inches, whereas these are more in Eagle Moss's mid size, which was later their standard size once they introduced the Discovery Collection. Not bad on the detail on the ship, at least based on what you see in the show. But honestly, I always felt like the Prodigy ships, they're always kind of lacking in certain details. Like, one of the big things that bugs me about Voyager A is that they didn't illuminate any of the impulse engines. Phasor arrays are also hard to determine where those are on the Prodigy ships too. They really get lacking on that detail here, on those ships, and that kind of obviously would translate over here too. Bottom of the ship. So the top portion of the saucer, that's all metal. Then you can see the separation here, this whole seam here, that's where it separates into plastic. So then the underside of the saucer, that's plastic, and that extends out to the secondary hull here. You can see kind of the inside here. If I can bring, you can kind of see into that better. Yeah, there's no real paint in there. There's no, it's all just gray in there. So it's kind of a big dome of emptiness, which I always thought was kind of a weird detail, but whatever. The nacelles, there's a bit of a mix of paint and plastic here. You can see the nacelle grills here on the end. That is clear plastic, so you can get some light pass through there. But then this portion up here, that's painted on. Then here on the front end, if I can get a good angle on this. There, you can see on the front end of the nacelles, that's just painted on. And it actually it feels a little lacking on those Bussard collectors there. It's literally just like some red striping there, like pinstriping around the Bussard collectors. I don't remember if that's accurate to the model in the show or not. So yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like they would have been better off just putting a red plastic insert in there instead of this lightly painted cap there for the impulse for the warp nacelle. I'm not super impressed there. You can see the main deflector here. This is also painted on, as well as the impulse engines, which are also painted in there. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the original Eagle Moss USS Dauntless, the NX-01A, so I'm not going to be able to show you that for comparison. Oh, actually, before I do comparison shots, I should probably get it in the stand first. Go, should slide in right on the saucer section. Okay, that sits there pretty nicely. Angle the camera down so you can see it better. Okay, so this is Dauntless sitting in its stands. It sits in there really nicely. It's angled far back enough so it'll definitely be cradled well into the arms of the stand there. This is really nice. I'm not worried about this falling out or anything. Yeah, solid stand right there. So I'm pretty happy about that. All right, now let's get a comparison shot so you can get an idea of the size of this thing. Now, like I said, I don't have the original USS Dauntless from the Eagle Moss collection, which was from Star Trek Voyager, but I figured let's just bring out Voyager from the original standard size collection for a size comparison here. And you can kind of see, I don't know, it makes the Dauntless feel a bit small, at least for like what you would expect it to be. Because the standard size for the Eagle Moss collection, or the standard size for the Fanhome collection, is roughly similar to what Eagle Moss's mid-size range was, which would later become its standard size. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, compared to the standard size Voyager, it feels a little on the small side in comparison to some of the other ships of its scale. It just, I don't know, it seems a little on the shrimpier side in comparison to the others. Maybe Voyager is just kind of big in this scale. I don't know. We'll have to look at some others and check that out. But yeah, I don't know. It's making Dauntless feel a little small. All right, here's Dauntless next to the Excelsior 2, which was a previous model from the Fanhome collection. I figured I'd whip this one out for the sake of size comparison. And as you can see, Excelsior 2 is definitely longer, but that's to be expected. Excelsior 2, I mean, look at the size of those nacelles. Obviously, it's going to be longer. So yeah, maybe it's just that it's maybe my issue with the sizing is that Dauntless isn't necessarily a very long ship, but it's definitely a thick ship. I mean, like, look at that in comparison to that. So I don't know. Maybe this one's kind of on the taller side too. I don't know. It's hard to be like super judgmental about the sizing because every ship has its own different size. Every ship's the dimensions of every ship is going to determine the size of the model. So it's tough to be a little I don't know. It's tough to be super critical about that. But yeah, I just feel like, I don't know, something makes me feel like Dauntless should be a little bit bigger in this scale. I don't know why. Okay, here's Dauntless next to an actual XL model. This is the XL version of USS Voyager from the Eagle Moss collection. And I don't know, I'm starting to second guess myself on the whole sizing thing because, like, I mean, that's an XL. And so if you make this much bigger, then it gets that much closer to the XL sizing. So maybe I'm just imagining things about Dauntless's size, and it's just more due to the weird dimensions of the ship. Because like I said, it's very for lack of a better word, girthy in the front, and then gets pretty shrimpy in the back. So maybe that's just what's throwing off my perception of the ship. Yeah, there it is, side by side compared to XL Voyager. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just imagining things about the size. Okay, now let's get a look at the magazine. USS Dauntless, NCC 80816. They're calling it the Dauntless class here. Active 2384. Commander Admiral Janeway has phasers and cannons, photon and quantum torpedoes, and propulsion and for propulsion it has warp, impulse, and quantum slipstream drives. And there it is, sitting in the stand right there. Like I said, cradles were in there right really nicely, just like it shows there on the image right there. Then we get some history on the Dauntless, as well as a nice render of the ship there as it appears in Star Trek Prodigy. Some nice orthographs of the ship, so you can get a better look at every angle of it. I think this shot is actually from Star Trek Prodigy itself, and you can kind of see here what I was talking about with the Bussard collectors. They're actually like fully lit up here, but I feel like they really just kind of cheaped out on the Bussard collectors on the physical model there because they're actually just like lit up red, which is really hard to see in this lighting. I get that, but at the same time, they just kind of like just put in some like red lines in there to kind of give the illusion that there's stuff there, but it really feels a little half-assed when you look at some of the other models there. They really should have just gone with like a red plastic insert in there, my opinion. Ooh, concept art, that's interesting. So this is actually concept art from Rick Sternbach's original version of the Dauntless that appeared in Star Trek Voyager. So it looks like they were looking at a lot of this stuff when working on the model for what would become Prodigy's version of the Dauntless. Here you can see here there's Dauntless right there from Star Trek Voyager, as well as a model of it. Not gonna lie, I was never a huge fan of the original Dauntless, but that said, I do still like it better than Prodigy's Dauntless. I don't know, there's just something about Prodigy's Dauntless that it looks a little too silly to me, and there's something off about it that I'm just not a huge fan of. We got a size comparison. I think that's the original Dauntless with a size comparison to Protostar there, which you can see like Dauntless was already a pretty small ship. Like Dauntless was already like smaller than Voyager. And then we have the itty bitty tiny USS Protostar. And then here we got some side by sides with the original and Prodigy version of Dauntless there. And then some small finer details here. It looks like they're working out just like how much detail they wanted to use on this stuff. And then one more render from the show. So that is USS Dauntless. This is the first Star Trek Prodigy model in the collection, which makes it kind of interesting. But I don't know. I'm not sure if it's the model or if it's just the ship or if it's just the ship itself that I'm just not that into. Because like, I don't know, the Dauntless, it's a very, I mean, we'll call it a unique looking ship. But you know, I guess I'm just more of a, I hate to say traditionalist, but you know, I like a more conventional Starfleet shape when it comes to ships. And yeah, I'm not to say I'm a super rigid adherer to like the classic rules set down by Gene Roddenberry that some people get super obsessive about, but like I don't know, there are things I like and there are things I don't like, and it's just like I don't know, Dauntless just doesn't click with me, neither the original nor the Prodigy version of this one. So I don't know. If you're a fan of this ship, I imagine you'll probably be into it, but I'm not that into this model. So yeah, this one's probably gonna end up on the eBay listings for me. But if you're into this ship, feel free to go after it because I mean, as a model, it does look pretty cool. My only big gripe there is on those Bussard collectors. Like I said, they're just I don't know, it feels like it was very lazily painted on those collectors there. I feel like they could have done something different there besides just those little red lines. They could have, like I said, I've said it like 3 times now, they could have put some actual like plastic inserts in there or something. But yeah, it's a shame, but it is what it is. The rest of the model I feel like looks pretty decent for what the ship is. Like I said, it doesn't click with me. Honestly, it's probably gonna be the same with the next one too, because I know next month is supposed to be the USS Archer, which appeared in the series premiere of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It's that ship with the it's just a single saucer and the single nacelle. So yeah, that's gonna be next month. But then I think the month after that, I think is supposed to be XL Voyager A, which that one's also from Prodigy. I'm much more excited about that one than this. Then actually the next XL, which will be 4 months after that, that'll be Protostar, which XL Protostar. I'm hyped for that. With how small Protostar is as a ship, making that as an XL, the amount of detail they're going to be able to fit onto that is going to be really interesting. So I'm hyped for those. But oh, I almost forgot. There's one more thing to show off because the next subscriber reward came with this shipment too, and it is the dedication plaque for the USS Titan A. And I gotta say, I'm kind of disappointed in this because like I was like admittedly I'd only ever seen promotional images for it. We never got an image of like the actual product itself that it was going to be. At least nothing that I ever saw. And wow, this is super underwhelming because like I was expecting something along the lines of what Eagle Moss had done with their dedication plaques. I was expecting that sort of quality. It's just a metal plate. That's it. It's just a metal plate that has been painted on. The letters of USS Titan and part of the Delta, that's raised, but everything else is just printed onto a metal plate. It's got little holes in here so you can like hang it on your wall. Honestly, it gives the vibe of like those cheap fake vanity license plates that you can get on like Amazon or whatever. That's the vibe it gets, but with cheaper metal because this is super thin. Like look at this. This is such a piece of garbage. I am so underwhelmed by this. See, I was expecting something more along the lines of this. This is one of the plaques that Eagle Moss had made for the Starships collection that when they still had it. And yeah, You can see this is much, it's one, this is much heftier, much bigger. I think these are made in like resin or something. I'm not sure what this is made out of, but it's much nicer. It's actually like 3D molded or whatever. I have no idea what terminology I'm using, but you can actually see there's actual like letters raised, the com badge raised. There's actual, effort put into this to make it look like something. And whereas this is just a cheap piece of crap here that they printed on. And yeah, I am I am this is probably the most disappointed I've been in the Fanhome collection so far, because this is just not good. So yeah, if any of you guys are also subscribers to the Fanhome collection, let me know what you think of the Titan A. I was gonna say they call it a dedication plaque. It's more like a dedication tin plate, because that's all it is. This is so bad. This is so cheap, and this is the biggest disappointment so far. Holy crap. Yeah, that's down the road. So for now, let me know what you guys think about the USS Dauntless model here in the comments. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. If you'd like to further support the channel, become a channel member to gain additional channel perks. Check out the pinned comment for the affiliate links. Check out the merch store down below. And if you're shopping on the Epic Game Store, be sure to use my content creator code STU1701. Any of these really help me out, and I really do appreciate it. Either way, though, thank you so much for watching. My name's Stu, and I will see you guys next time.